You can also buy these different ingredients from different stores. If you don't like the service at one store, or you find that their goods aren't fresh, you can go somewhere else. We take this for granted when we're buying food and when we're making our meals. But again, when we're looking at technology on the web, it's easy to forget when you see something that's shiny and easy that you give up some of that control. In fact, many of the technologies that are available today that people are looking to have you developers believe are good alternatives to the web are very restrictive in that way, in ways that they don't talk about very clearly. Some of them have licensing agreements that say you can only use them on certain platforms, you can only use them if you've already bought another piece of software. Some of them have documentation that you're not allowed to use to implement your own. If you don't like how Flash works, for example, there's a specification that says what those different pieces of the file do, but you're not allowed to use those in order to make your own. So if you want Flash to move in a different direction, you really can't. You need to wait until Adobe cares about displaying the language, or having accessibility the way you care about it, or adding support for the platform or device you want to use. And that's a very important decision to be delegated to somebody else. On the web, we delegate it to a lot of different people, and we believe at Mozilla, certainly, that results in more people being able to do what they ultimately want on the web. And you can also choose to make many different kinds of things, obviously, out of these ingredients. Example of many of them here, I'm finding myself made quite hungry by my own talk. You can make new kinds of food that other people didn't think were healthy or didn't think were good. You can combine foods from different cultures to make wonderful new things. You can pay other people to make parts of your meal if you want, or trade bits and pieces. You can share your recipes. You can decide to eat indoors or outdoors. And you can make foods that you can eat with chopsticks or forks or just your hands. You don't have to use the same tools all the time in order to build your application. You ultimately have control over what you eat and how you make it. And we think that's a very important analogy for how the web works and how technology together can be brought together, in many creative ways. It's very important to us also that you can share your food with others and have a social experience around it. That as you learn about building food, as you learn about making a meal, you can share that experience with somebody. You don't go to this restaurant, their fish isn't very good, or this store has great apples. Or I liked this recipe together and someone else may suggest to you how to improve that. We do that in Mozilla with open source, but even if you don't build your product as open source and you want to build it in a different way, building on top of the web lets you take advantage of other people's work in very simple and clear ways by using view source, which is a tool that's very close to my heart and has always been a part of the browser, by editing in whatever tools you choose and hosting on whatever server you choose. And that choice is ultimately what Mozilla exists to preserve, to allow you to choose to use the browser you want, to choose to have it in the language you want. When we released Firefox 2, we released it in dozens of languages, more than 40. It's available in close to 50 now. Those are important choices to make, and they may not seem like technical choices. They may not seem like the things that will determine how you're going to build your application. But being able to bring those technologies to the whole world is very important to us at Mozilla, and we think it's important to the world that is part of the web today and will be part of the web tomorrow. If you want to build a specific thing, as I said, you might decide you want a specific tool. If you need to build a model of a pirate ship, this Lego kit could be a great example. It very clearly makes an attractive pirate ship. And you might start to wonder, though, how can I move those things around? How can I connect these things differently? But again, for example, the sails in this are very, very nicely curved, and it would be hard to do that with square blocks today. But once you've bought this, you might ask, what else can I do? I've made a pirate ship. Perhaps I need to make a house. When I try to make a house from this, it's not going to work very well, because again, when the kit was built, when people designed it, they designed it thinking, people need to build pirate ships. And we don't think technology should be about the kind of thing you want to build. We think it should be about the choices you want to make. So you might choose to make a house, and you might want better walls that'll keep the wind out. You might want to make a spaceship, but this one, of course, being made from these parts, won't fly. If you've had, many of you I'm sure played with Lego or other such toys when you were younger, or maybe still do today, you can build many things with that. Some of them aren't quite as pretty. Some of them don't have the beautiful curve of the sails, but you're certainly able to build many, many more kinds of things. And that's very important to us at Mozilla. We think it's important to the web. If you were a company, though, today building technology, and you said, people are building all sorts of things on the web. And if I could figure out how to get them to build technology, build those applications on something I control, I could make money on it, I could make it harder for people to compete with me. I could not only make money from selling it, but because I controlled where that technology was, I could charge people to put that technology on phones or on other computing devices. I could charge people to make it available in another language, or to allow me to share that technology with somebody in a different way. But you know that the web is huge. The web is where everybody communicates. So you couldn't just say, get off the web. Nobody would believe that. So you might say, what we have works well with the web. You might do something similar, for example, if you were making a zoo. You'd want to be able to talk about all the different kinds of animals in the world. Zebras and kangaroos and koalas and fish and snakes. And to have people come to your zoo, you would say, I have all of these things. I can do these things. You can come here and see all these different kinds of animals and learn all about them. But if all you really have is for example, donkeys, you wonder, how do I sell those things? How do I make people believe that they can have all of these things in my one choice? And there's actually a zoo in Mexico, in a city called Tijuana, that has done something very creative here. They have many donkeys, they grow well there, and they know how to take care of them. And they want people to come and believe that they have other animals, for example, the zebra. And so they will paint the donkeys. And this is a funny thing to see in the context of a zoo, and you would go and you would see it and you would laugh at this. And in fact, I want now to go and see this, to go and see the painted donkey, see if anybody actually believes it's a zebra. But it's not quite as funny to me, I'll admit, when it's somebody saying what we're building is like the web. It fits into the web. And they might say you can serve it to a browser. They might say, you can use some parts of the web technology, you can use CSS, or you can use some kinds of images. Or if you wanted to, you could script it from the outside. But there's a difference between the features of the web and the nature of the web. And we think the nature of the web, being built by millions of people around the world, being innovated in different ways, is as important as the specific pieces. The web's also here today. You can build today a web application that can reach billions of people around the world. And you can use it to make money or to share your beliefs. You can use it to gather people towards your cause or just to make them laugh. Some of you may be doing that right now. I'll try to type quietly during my talk, and that's fine. It's more important to improve the web than to listen to me. This is an example of an ad that ran in magazines in America in the 1950s. And it advertises a truly wonderful thing, a kitchen computer. You won't have to have knives and stoves. You won't have to worry about ingredients and tending to them. You can turn the dial, and it will make you a dinner that's exactly how you like. And that's a pretty wonderful thing to advertise. And you can imagine that might be a great thing to have, especially if you liked the kinds of food that it knew how to make. But when these were being advertised, many people were very excited about it, but they didn't stop cooking. They didn't stop eating and stay hungry until Honeywell, I think it was, shipped this kitchen computer. They kept eating, and not only did they keep eating and making food was the way they always had, people invented new things to make that better. They added the microwave. They invented different kinds of refrigeration and flash freezing. They added things to the creation of food that we don't even think of as being related to food, like air travel. So you can get fresh food from all over the world to combine in a certain way. If they waited until Honeywell had built this computer and stopped thinking about how they could change their own food and the way things were built, we'd be much worse off today. I would probably never have had sushi in North America, which I love very much, because Honeywell, an American company, likely wouldn't have known how to make sushi. They wouldn't have known that I might be interested in it. They wouldn't have known how to get fresh fish and experts into it to make that work.